Well, welcome to day 14 of the 21 days of goals. Let me ask you, how are you hanging in there? Can you believe we are already 2/3 of the way through this challenge? Think about all the ways so far that you've grown, in your mindset, that you've grown in your ability to set goals. But now we're kind of moving into the final stretch. It's like when you're running a race and you can see the outline of the finish line ahead on the horizon. That's usually when you get that fresh jolt of inspiration. I really hope you're feeling that right now because I believe you can do this. I believe you can stay strong, stay committed, and keep moving forward. Well, today we are diving into chapter 14, which is titled Measure Your Progress. And one of my favorite quotes in this chapter is, if you can't measure it, then you can't manage it. It's so true. Measurement is the key to turning your goals into actual results. In fact, on page 166, Brian Tracy reminds us that our subconscious mind functions best with clear goals, specific tasks, deliberate measures, and firm deadlines. We can't stop at just setting our goals. The next step is we've got to establish benchmarks and measurements to evaluate our progress. If we invest the time in doing this and we do it right, well, we get a better chance of staying on track, staying motivated, and finishing strong. One way to think about measuring our progress is like keeping score at a sports game. Imagine going to a baseball game and they're not actually keeping score, or a basketball game where they've taken the jumbotron out of the arena and there's really no way to track what's happening. You see the plays that are going on the field or the court, but they've got little meaning when you don't know the stakes. And then eventually you start to lose interest and you decide to direct your attention elsewhere. Well, in the same way, tracking your progress and goals is what's going to keep you engaged in what's going on, or motivated by the stakes of winning and losing, or even just clear about what you need to do next to continue to move forward. Keeping your own scorecard and measuring your progress is going to help you stay focused on what matters most. Now, here's a few insights that I took from this chapter. The first was when Brian Tracy talked about developing a habit of completion. He points out that when you complete tasks to 100%, you develop this habit of completion, and that brings both fulfillment and momentum. And on the flip side, if you leave things incomplete, that's a source of stress and anxiety. This reminds me of my own life. I always had a problem for a very long time of starting projects but failing to finish them. I was a professional starter. But last year, my word of the year was follow through, and I was committed to follow through on what I started. And it made a huge difference. By focusing on follow through, I started to experience the joy of accomplishing something, of taking something all the way through. And I believe if you work on follow through, you can have the same result. The second thing that he pointed out that I thought was very interesting was the fact that we should commit to continuous improvement. Now, we all know we should do that, but look how simple it is. On page 172, Brian Tracy says, if you read 15 minutes each evening rather than watching television, you could read about 15 books a year. That's pretty intense. If we think about how much time we waste on Netflix, or about how much time we waste on scrolling through the internet or our social media, all we've got to do is redirect 15 minutes to reading each night. That's 15 books a year. The average American only reads 12 books a year. So you are above average just by making a small change. But it's these small changes that end up making big impacts. So many leaders tell me, hey, I don't have enough time to make progress. But it often isn't a time issue. It's a priority issue. I'm going to encourage you. Make the small changes. Now, I want you to ask yourself 2 reflection questions. And these 2 you're going to ask yourself for each goal that you've set so far. Okay, the first one is, how are you going to keep score? This is all about specifically what is it that you're going to be tracking. Then I want you to ask yourself, when does it need to be done by? This is about giving our goals those deadlines. Now, you should have already given yourself some deadlines as we've gone through chapter by chapter, but just in case, have a done by next to each goal. This is just that date that you're going to complete it in. Because by answering this, you're going to build in clarity and accountability when it comes to what you want to accomplish. Now, let's jump to our action steps. At the back of this chapter, we're going to look at number 1 together. Number 1 on our action steps. Determine a single measure that you can use to grade your progress and success in each area of life, and then refer to it daily. For me, this measure is filling out my daily planner. My goals are in my planner, and each day I'm going to fill it out. In fact, I'll show it to you now. Some future videos coming on this. But what's very important for me is that every morning when I get up, I fill this out. I fill it out because it helps me keep track of what I'm doing. Consistently filling it out helps me stay on pace with the goals that I set. And if I skip days, I all of a sudden start to feel like I'm losing momentum. So it's just one way that I use to measure my progress. You need to find the best way to measure your progress. So the question I want you to ask yourself is, how can I ensure that I'm staying on track? What am I using to measure that? Now, chapter 14 is all about reminding us that measurement is the bridge between setting goals and achieving goals. By tracking your progress and using deadlines and committing to continuous improvement, you can keep moving forward and gain confidence and clarity along the journey in achieving your goals. Now, we've got just a third of the book left, and trust me, there's some great things coming up. So you want to stay tuned, you want to stay committed, you want to stay showing up, and you want to finish strong. Tomorrow, we will dive into chapter 15. I can't wait to continue the journey. I'll see you then.